Yeah, this is Margaret in Windsor, and this is the second letter. I've just put the first one up. And Jack Hartsfield was a reporter he was FBI reporter at Huntsville Times in 1980 when I was almost killed on April Fool Day and stuffed in a car. And on Easter, it was a horror story. I shouldn't have lived what they put in me. But anyway, I've tried to put all that up. But Jack was part of saving my life there. And anyway, yeah, Salvador Vizzini, I've just read that little bit about him, that Jack wrote a letter to him. And he was FBI agent. There was a book he wrote. It was a long time ago, but it was small book, but it said that if it wasn't all that many pages, maybe 150 at the most, and he said that if he told what he really knew, he'd be killed. So anyway, Jack, I just looked now, and somebody's come in here and undone my suitcase, everything, and gotten papers out of here, and I had a lot of Jacks that were very important about the FBI being in Huntsville, Alabama, when they kidnapped me, when JFK helped kidnap me and bring me to Moulton, Alabama. And that's right near Huntsville. How do you think NASA got started? But anyway, Jack had in there, and I put it up many times over the last years, but I don't know, you'd have to filter through so many to find them, but now they're all gone except this few. Somebody came in and helped themselves to what little I have. That seems to be the going rate, correct? Here's this letter from Jack. He was living in outside Los Angeles. By the way, he knew Larry Flint, and he saw him occasionally, and Jack didn't see him because of pornography. There's more going on there, political too, trying to help and do the right thing. Shocking, they're about the only ones that, after you find out, that were. And Hugh Hefner. Okay, just a note to let you know. Well, I'm just letting you know this was Jack, and well, that's no good anymore. But the date, I don't have the date. Anyway, let me turn this around, I guess, or I guess I could just read it. Just a note to let you know. I'll turn it around. We're still alive and kicking out here on the edge of the desert, where incidentally our temperature soared to 109 past few weeks. I received what I presume was your invite. Well, I'm not going to go through all that. That didn't happen. He's talking about Susan Boda Thompson, who still lives in Pasadena, isn't in the best of health, hospitalized. She's part of where this goes. She didn't have anything to do with the murders, and it's not funny. But in 2010, when a couple of things happened, then I'm living in an affordable corporate on Starkey Road. And that's when the murders of four professors at the University of Alabama Extension Center there were murdered by another worker who had been, I believe she was a professor. She shot him. I mean, it's mind control done in patterns. And Susan here had been a head of sociology, I believe, a professor there before. I met her when she was with Jack. When I say with Jack, she was just a friend. But anyway, I talked with the attorney who was defending this woman. She had been a policewoman from Boston, and she's a professor. And anyway, she shot and killed, I believe it was four there at the university. So in 2010, I talked to Scott Peterson's attorney, Mark Garrigus. His investigator called me, and several times, I think about 3 or 4 during this period of time that this happened. And I talked to Miller, who was the attorney signed to this woman who did the shooting. And people are afraid to get involved in it. I mean, it's really because it's done with mind control and signaling the murders, and it's the Tesla files I just put up. And I put all this up. So let me get to this if I can. I'm trying to show it. I'm not sure I can right at the moment. Susan Boda was a professor out there. I met her through Jack. And these mind control murders involve this woman who did the shooting, the professor, had been a policeman, and she is now charged, I believe she's in prison, with the murder of her brother, I believe it is. I'd have to go back and look it up. You can Google it if you're interested. It was in Boston. But the woman was programmed, and I put it here because it was done in patterns, and the attorney, nothing against him. I talked with him, and he reminded me he had worked with me at the district attorney Fred Simpson's office in 1980. And he was going to call me back and tell me if he could use what I was telling him about it was mind control, and I won't mention what he called and told me back. He's a good man. He said nice things to me, and in all honesty, everybody's afraid of it, and they'll call it not credible. Nobody wants to hear it. Okay, it would be hard to get somebody to listen to it, and the powers that be. Anyway, that was the same time I heard, about the same time I heard from Mark Garagos's investigator, and I talked about Scott Peterson, told him about Scott Peterson, who Garagos was representing. Okay, Susan Boda Thompson still lives she was a professor out there and met through Jack, and isn't in best of health. Patsy Foot, I don't know who she is, from Huntsville, is hospice care now. Sal Bazzini, you remember, is Huntsville's police chief. He's former FBI. Approaching 81, living in Tennessee, and has undergone a couple of fairly serious operations. One removal of the prostate, another replace a knee, and now about to undergo some shoulder surgery. So it's happened to the FBI too. And then the others I cared about from Huntsville connections have gone on to the great beyond. Barry Casbolt, Guy Hollis, John Park, Phil Foote, Joe Davis, Fred Horst, Gene Jones, etc., etc. The beat goes on. Sonny and Cher once put it on and on and on. By the way, Sonny and Cher owned the house that Larry Flint owned when I was out there in that campaign in '83 to replace Congressman Dr. Larry McDonald, who was supposed to have gone down on the KAL. I'd written about him in the mind control, book on mind control and all this. And his plane's supposed to go down. And Sonny and Cher had owned that house on St. Cloud in Bel Air. Flint, after then, moved to Beverly Hills. Ain't many of these old school kids left, us included. I'm assuming that you may or may not be living at Edinburgh. See, even where I've lived, Edinburgh is associated with the castle, Edinburgh, Scotland, which I've lived in squat and hellhole when I was lucky. But I guess Larry Flint is still trucking along, although he's pretty much turned his business over to his daughter. So this doesn't have the date, and I don't know if I've got the envelope here somewhere. Everything else has been taken. Anyway, I don't know that there's any need continuing with the rest of this one, how much it has. It says, I've lost at least one acquaintance out here who recently spent a couple of months in Huntsville working for a defense contractor. He's back in Santa Clarita. I had a letter about that, and it's gone too. Yeah. Regards, Jack. Okay. I think I should go ahead and, well, maybe this is the envelope, I'm not sure. October 2008, I think it probably was. Okay, I only have one left, and I don't think, I may get it up. Let me go ahead. Okay, this is Jack, and I had an email address there because he's deceased, and so is his wife. lived on Apple Street, Santa Clarita. That's Newhall for some reason. Oh, this is to Sal. See, they took all my letters. Somebody helped themselves to it, and God knows what else in it. Because the few things I had in there that were so important, I mean, I've had it stolen over and over. This is a hell that I hope somebody sometime pays for. Let me get this up if I can. Okay, this is Jack, and it's Howdy Sal. Vizzini's the mayor there, was sent over to protect me as police chief there in Huntsville. And he was former FBI, and I put that up. He wrote a book and said he would be killed if he told all he knew. By the way, in '79, when I had the letter from the FBI, 2 letters that I've told about all along, one of the phone calls from the FBI said, and like I can't spell, he did it deliberately. He said, "This is Helms, HELMS, which is Keeper of the Secrets, CIA." And he said, "I'm going to walk away for a while, but I'll be back." And then he said, "I'm also," I think he said Ken. Michael Ken. Michael Ken was the special agent in charge then. Anyway, I thought I'd throw that in. Anyway, here with Sal. Okay, let me see if I can get this up. I don't think so. Hello, howdy, Sal. It's been some time since I shoved an epistle in your direction, but you've been weighing heavily on my mind in recent weeks. I hope you're reaching some peace over your divorce dilemma and your health is improving. Don't know why I've had you on my mind so much of late, but I have learned to accept intuitive nudges if that's what they are. What the hell? You keep it on my mind active and all-timers. Here, I took the test. I found my car in the shopping center parking lot the first time I tried to find it this week. I'm told that's a good sign. The bad sign would be if I left the shopping center and forgot altogether that I ever had a car. So maybe my epistle was prompted by simply the sounds of time slowly shifting in the hourglass. Times and conditions do change, you know. I doubt if either of us would have believed 50 years ago, even 20, that a bit of the Democratic presidential nomination would come down to the choice between a black man, or a woman. Obama may indeed, by the miracle man the nation needs despite concerns over his limited political experience on the international scene. On the plus side, he can't help but be an improvement over Bush's second fiasco over at least the last 4 years. The economy, the unbelievable oil crisis, rigged or unrigged, our never-ending Iraq war, or the nation's current plummeting lack of respect from throughout the world. I had an unusual visitor in my office a week or two ago. The guy said he had been over in 40 countries in his career and had never before publicly proclaimed a political party preference or candidate preference, but the time around he's disgusted this time around with the current Bush administration to a point he's embarrassed for the nation, particularly when he's asked in another country. He kind of reminded me of something you said once during your career. You didn't vote a preference. There probably were a lot like you in his career intelligence community for a variety of reasons. I told my visitor I understood what he was saying, noting I experienced a metamorphosis to progress to an independent political status myself. But about it, it's a big one. Obama was elected, and it would improve the U.S. image in much of the world overnight. My visitor was delighted at my response and agreed. By the way, I talked briefly with Hal Bryan a few weeks back, but Chit Chat Hall incidentally told me that some time ago Huntsville's wild and wicked ways of the 70s and 80s are pretty well calmed down these days. I hope so, maybe not. I still kind of show me mentality. Don't tell me if I wasn't born in Missouri. Well, this may go up. I don't know. It's 3 pages. Interesting, though, that in public knowledge, even in print these days, Huntsville now has a sizable bastion of counterintelligence gurus shifting and sorting on a daily basis through the kind of stuff I was buried in years ago. Don't seem possible. That has been almost 20 years ago I first met you in South Miami. You said I never forgot. I haven't. I thought I knew that I was doing, although in retrospect I was armed then with more loose ends than probable facts of everything resembling a conspiracy. Corruption in law enforcement and in the courts, and string of unusual deaths, a police fire department strike, rise in drug trafficking and the vice and Cold War questions, bribery protection rackets, espionage, mercenaries, missing TOW missiles from the arsenal storage, gun running arsenals, enough to at least send up an emergency flare, wouldn't you say? A nonchalant attitude for the news executives at the Huntsville Times, preferring to look the other way, disgusted me. Even after I run out of town on a rail, fired from the newspaper, divorced, lost my home, left what's left of my journalistic reputation, it took more than to decipher the links among them leading the Iran-Contra, as you are well aware. By the way, I don't know if I'm going to finish this because Jack did return to the Huntsville Times. I think I think the editor that I met who destroyed papers I turned over to him where they tried to kill me, there at the hospital with the results that was finally turned over to my ex-husband or husband. Wouldn't turn them over to me. It's where they tried to kill me. All that was, Jack got it out of the garbage and came out and, told me about this, how I met Jack. He came out to Warren House, which is like the Warren Commission covered up the Kennedy's part and what they did to me and my father and on and on. Now, Jack came back to work there after he left California and New Mexico, and it's my understanding he died about 3 years ago he smoked a lot. He was 3 years older than me. I'm going to try to see if there's anything else here. I can hardly read. I confess I did try to push buttons with the Boston Globe, Miami Herald, Newsday, Atlanta Journal, Los Angeles Times, Daily Oklahoma, Nashville Banner, Birmingham News, etc., etc. Now, do you suppose that was why I was fired from the sterling bastion of journalistic integrity, the Huntsville Times? Since I was vested in the Huntsville Times, I currently receive the magnanimous amount of $143 a month for my 15-year effort at the paper, however reluctant they are to pay even that. Jonathan Weiner testifying before a Senate committee 2003 on the international spiderweb of money laundering, funding criminal elements and terrorists, hit a home run with me with one classic remark: sunlight is the best disinfectant. That, Sal, was one of my intents from the very beginning regarding what was happening in Huntsville at the time of your arrival as police chief. That was in '80 when they almost killed me. I like sunlight, too. I find it even odd today that only a few months ago I was told by our friend Nick DeLucci here